Hey everybody, what's up? Brent Axe here, syracuse.com, and we are on the Facebook Live page here on the Syracuse football page on Facebook. And we're here after a rather close but no cigar game for the Syracuse football Oranges. They come out of their bye week. Cole Murphy misses a 43-yard field goal as time expired that would have tied the game. But nonetheless, Syracuse loses to Florida State 27-24. Syracuse is now 4-5 on the season with 3 games to go. They'll come back home next week to take on Wake Forest at the Carrier Dome. They'll then go to Louisville and then finish the season at home against Boston College. So Florida State, mirrored in one of the worst seasons they've had in years. They've got to win out just to qualify for a bowl game. Got that first step today with a win over Syracuse. The Orange dropped to 4-5. Need just 2 more wins to be bowl eligible. But this one will be added to a list of games for Syracuse this year that includes LSU, that includes NC State, that includes Miami, where they played good teams, ranked teams, or in this case, kind of a name brand program, although Florida State was down. Winning at Florida State would have been a big win for Syracuse, as Dino Babers needs a significant win on the road, which he has not gotten yet. Florida State's a brand name program, albeit down this year, but still would have been big for Syracuse to have Clemson and Florida State as wins in one season, but nonetheless, the Orange do not get it. So here we are on Facebook Live. If you are joining us, please like and share this post so others can see that we're here doing it. Hop in the comment section and add your thoughts as we go along here. And really, this down to one decision, and that decision was right before halftime. Syracuse gets the ball back. Florida State muffs a punt, didn't call for the fair catch. Syracuse hops on it, and they've got a golden opportunity to put some points on the board. And Syracuse did not come away with points at all. 4th and 3, well within range. Now, Cole Murphy, as we just mentioned, missed a 43-yard field goal that would have tied this game. Cole Murphy missed another field goal in this game. I think Florida State got a piece of that field goal. So he missed a couple of field goals, but you would think Cole Murphy, even with the odd angle, could hit that field goal right before the half. And it all comes down to that, age-old debate that football fans have. Do you take the points or do you go for it? Dino Babers has shown that he'll go for it, and he'll go for it on 4th down every time. He just said in his post-game press conference that they were playing to win. They would have loved to be and felt they could have won this game had they been tied at halftime. Nonetheless, Syracuse was not tied at halftime. There was a wild play on 4th down at the end. Ball went all over the place. Irv Phillips actually almost caught a deflected ball that Florida State, inexplicably kept in play. But that's the decision it's going to come down to. Dino Babers said they were playing to win. So Dino comes out of halftime and in the television interview on the ACC network says, we're not going to beat these guys kicking field goals. Well, that turned out to be a kind of a prophecy, because Syracuse missed a field goal that would have tied the game, that would have sent it to overtime. So that's the play people will scrutinize. There were some time management issues, some other play calls, the decision to go for the onside kick. I think there's some coaching decisions in this game that fans are going to be frustrated with. I think officiating was a story in this game. Officiating was very frustrating. Florida State got a number of calls in this game that are inexplicable to me. And on scoring plays, a blatant hold on one of Cam Akers' big touchdown runs. And let's get this clear right now. Cam Akers is a very talented player. The future is bright there at running back for Florida State. He had just under 200 yards rushing today, but blatant missed hold on that play. 4th and 1 for Syracuse. It could not have been more obvious that Florida State was not out of bounds, pardon me. They were in the neutral zone. They jumped off sides. Completely missed that. We can go through all the calls here. I mean, Eric Dungy is on the sideline. There is not, indisputable evidence that he stepped out of bounds. That call goes against Syracuse. The spot that the refs gave a couple of times to Florida State, frankly, gave them extra yards on play. So I never like to blame officiating for a loss. I'm not blaming the loss here on officiating, because Syracuse had a shot at the end to tie this game, and then all bets are off in overtime. But if you watch this game, officiating was clearly one of the worst performances we've seen from an officiating crew all year, and it was embarrassing to see that they missed these calls on important plays, scoring plays in a tight game that would swing the tide. Nonetheless, Syracuse had every opportunity to win this game, and now it joins that list of woulda, coulda, shoulda games. And, Dino said after the game that, bottom line, we're 4-5, and we can't feel good about ourselves anymore. Syracuse still has to earn everything that they get. I think going into the bye week, we felt like, okay, you have shown, even with a really tough schedule, that a bowl game is expected now. A bowl game wouldn't be this unbelievable ultimate prize that Syracuse got. It's expected now. 4 games to go. All you need is 2 wins against 4 teams you certainly could have beaten. And what an opportunity to beat Florida State here. Because you still would have gotten the win over Florida State. As time would pass, people would certainly remember, well, Florida State was down that year. Well, it's still Florida State, and it would have been a significant road win for Syracuse. And Syracuse was just a better team out there today. Unbelievable to say that. I realized that. Florida State's got more talent, as Cam Akers showed, as other plays show. But Syracuse, 1 for 13, holding Florida State on 3rd down. Eric Dungy, of course. Man, this kid, say all you want about Syracuse and losing another opportunity to get a win. Eric Dungy, that kid is just tough as nails. Hurts his ankle or hurts his foot. Some people were saying maybe it could have been a turf toe thing based on how they taped it. One way or the other, he's hurt. And we saw the clear drop-off when Zach Mahoney comes in at quarterback. This team needs Eric Dungy in there at quarterback. He wills Syracuse back. Tough plays, big runs, throws, both Steve Ishmael and Irv Phillips with 12 catches on the day. By the way, Irv Phillips set the Syracuse record all-time reception mark. He's at like 205 catches, I believe now, and counting. And this guy's going to be around for a little while longer. So Syracuse shredding more records today. Dungy, just like he did against Miami, despite some faults early, threw an interception early, got hurt, comes back in, and you just see the difference that this team has with him at quarterback over Zach Mahoney or anybody. And unfortunately, it just piles up to another woulda, coulda, shoulda game for the Orange. So let's see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Please hop in the comments and let us know what you think. Please like and share this post. If you're just hopping in here on Facebook Live, let people know that we're here doing it. Harold says, give great admiration to Eric Dungy. Excellent effort. We were just saying that. Completely agree with you. Mary Ellen says, officiating never goes our way. We've got to get the job done. Too many mistakes. That's a great way to put it. Don't blame the loss on the refs, but the officiating did not go their way today. And here's the thing, and Dino Babers and I have talked about this on my radio show. Somebody asked me this on Twitter, and it was a good question. Well, what happens to these refs? Do they get punished for this? Actually, they can't, because what happens is Syracuse submits calls after every game. They go through and they flag a number of calls that they felt, were unfair. It gets reviewed by the league. Now, the ACC is not really apt to announce these punishments. You kind of have to drag it out of them. But they do get graded and they do get punished for it. But where's the accountability during the game? How about make the right call? And some of these calls are not reviewable. At least replay can reverse some of the mistakes made, but not when Florida State jumped off sides, not the holding call that they gave them. And this all adds up. It all adds up. So I think that's a fair point by Mary Ellen. Mike says you can't say anything about today. Losing Eric slowed down the team. Also, the lack of holding calls, roughing the passer call. That's another great point, Eric. That roughing the passer call was abysmal. That was a textbook tackle. That was a player making a play right before James Blackman, the Florida State quarterback, gets rid of the football. Awful roughing call. Overreaction. Refs are just apt to throw the flag now and hope it was a roughing as opposed to calling what it should be. I'm glad you pointed that out. Ken says we won't win consistently until you get better offensive line play. You have to be able to run the football, especially on the road. You do have to be able to run the football. Eric Dungy had 109 yards rushing today. That's a career high for him, by the way. But you need Dante Strickland. You need Mo Neal. You need the running backs to lead the way. And to be fair, Syracuse was heading down that road a little bit before the bye week. They were running the ball better collectively as a team. Clearly, it didn't happen today. The offensive line's been up and down this year. They've had some great performances, namely Clemson, and they've had some down performances the last 2 games. And Dungy's out there not only, running for his life, making plays, scrapping by what he can, with an offensive line play that's been, let's say, inconsistent. He's out there on 1 foot today. Now, the unfortunate thing for Syracuse is you got to watch this because, when you're in the game and adrenaline's flowing and, he gets some treatment, they wrapped it up, that's one thing you go out there and play. Now he's got a week to settle in, and Syracuse has already had their bye week. So we've got to keep a close eye on this to see how it affects the Orange going forward because Eric Dungy's mobility is huge for the Orange, his ability to extend plays, throwing the football, certainly running the ball, as he had 109 yards rushing today. The last touchdown that Syracuse had, 14 plays, 75-yard drive. Dungy one of the easiest touchdowns he's ever going to have in his life, running it in right at the end. So got to keep a very close eye on that. Connor says defense really battling down the stretch, minus a few big plays. That's a great point by Connor. This Syracuse defense, once again, comes through on third down. 1 for 13 they held Florida State to on third down, which you need to. James Blackman has struggled this year. He got thrown into the fire because DeAndre Francois got hurt early in the season. But, that's a quarterback that Syracuse had to get after today. They did. He made a few big plays. And Cam Akers had a few big runs. You had to expect that. Florida State's got speed. They're going to make some big plays. But that defense held firm. And I'll tell you, a guy who deserves a shout-out on this defense, and he just gets better game by game, is Alton Robinson. He was in James Blackman's face all day. I believe he had 2 sacks, a number of pressures. He is really going to combine with Kendall Coleman. Good news for the Orange defense, was back out there today to have an anchor on that defense for the next few years on that defensive front. Syracuse did not have Antoine Cordy out there, as you would expect, but now we know he's gone for the year. Jordan Martin gone for the year. Davon Ellison didn't travel with the team today, so you had to rely on a couple guys to shift over and help out. I think Rodney Williams struggled at times today in that secondary, but Scoop Bradshaw was back out there as well. He was making some good plays. So I can't find a lot of fault with the defense. They did give up some big plays, but they did their job. They kept getting Florida State off the field on third down, giving Syracuse opportunities. This really came down to the field goal call, that you got to take the points there. The beauty of social media, both the beauty and the downfall of social media, right, is that you can make predictions and they are out there and the whole world can see them. Right before the half, I tweeted, this could come back to haunt this team. I said, mark the tape, if you will. This could come back to haunt this team that they didn't take the points here. So we can debate that all day because there's other plays they can make. If Cole Murphy makes a field goal at the end, this game's in overtime, and that makes it a moot point. But I feel like we're going to keep circling back on that. Should have taken the points. I like that Dino Babers is aggressive on fourth down. I like that he'll go for it on fourth down more than almost any coach in the country. It's a matter of what plays you call, because Syracuse went for it on that 4th and 3 right before the half. It was a third straight running play before that fourth down wild play that they ran. So it's a matter of, well, what are you calling on those fourth downs? Syracuse did not utilize the tight end today. I was disappointed to see that. So it's kind of you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in a way. I like that Dino goes for it on fourth down, but you got to be smart. You got to take the points where needed. And I clearly, some people disagree with me, which is great. That's fine. We had a great debate on social media and in the live chat here on syracuse.com debating that. But I think for the most part, the feeling is take the points there. Take the points, see what happens at the end. Rob says Syracuse football continues to show that as a program, the tide is turning. We're just not there yet to be able to win some of these closer games that they've been in this year. I hope Dino sticks around. He's the right guy for the job for sure. Joe says this is getting tough to watch. John says such a frustrating loss. Also agrees, though, with what we were just talking about. Take the points in that spot. Ken says always take the points on the road. I like Rob's comment there, but they needed a win today. See, to me, I wonder if you guys agree with this. After that Miami game, it was hard to be frustrated. It was hard to be upset about that game because of how they battled back, how they took an undefeated football team at that time, and we'll see if Miami can get by Virginia Tech and keep on this road to the college football playoff, which they're currently not in the rankings. They get Notre Dame after that, so it's going to be a tough road for them. But I thought the feeling was they battled back. Everybody admired Eric Dungy doing his, Karate Kid moves, and you felt good going into a bye week. This is different because this is now the 4th game. Think about this. All 4 of Syracuse's, now 5 losses, pardon me, all 5 of Syracuse's losses this season are by 10 points or less. You kind of get sick of, hey, you're giving it the old college try. You got to win one of these games. Think of the opportunities there. LSU, NC State, Miami, now Florida State added to that list. It's better than getting blown out by these teams. It's better than some of the scores that we've seen. It's hard to ignore the progress being made there, but tight games come down to coaching decisions. They come down to a couple of plays, and Syracuse just isn't making enough of those plays, and they continue to be plagued by slow starts. Now, to be fair, Eric Dungy got hurt early in this game, and they had to bounce back from that, and he still had a career 109 yards rushing, and Syracuse was still in it. So I don't want to complain too much because all you can ask a team is be competitive, be in the game in the fourth quarter. Just make me believe that you've got a shot to win this thing. And Syracuse has delivered there in all 9 football games. But at some point, you also have to say, you got to break through. You got to win on the road. You've got to get one of these games. And Dino Babers said it himself. I'm paraphrasing here, catching his quotes from the press conference. But it was basically, we left a lot of meat on the bones today. He knows it. He's straight up about it. He's going to defend some of his decisions, and that's fine. He's the coach, and he should. But, they did leave a lot of meat on the bone today. Some other things that stand out, it was better in the second half, but as much credit as we give the defense, they had some missed tackles in that first half. As bad as some of those calls were, Cam Akers, credit to him. What a future he's got as the running back of Florida State, but there were some tackling issues there. That kind of adds up. Cole Murphy, it seemed like he was turning it around. I talked to Dino about that this week and the confidence that he has now, and even last week, at Miami, on a wet turf, he slips, but he had 4 field goals, 3 of those over 40 yards. It seemed like he had turned a corner. The Lou Groza Award, which goes to the best kicker in the country, he was a semifinalist for that, recently announced. He struggled today. And think of what Dino said. One of the reasons that he did not go for the field goal at the end of the first half was it was an odd angle. That kind of inadvertently says you don't have confidence in your kicker. Now, again, to be fair, I don't know if we'll see this or not because they typically don't release video of these things after they lose. But from what we understand from Dino's press conference, and we'll have coverage of this, of course, Chris Carlson and Stephen Bailey will be writing about this on syracuse.com. But the tone of the post-game speech to the team was, we win and lose as a family. He defended Cole Murphy, brought him out there and said, look, we lost today. We win and lose as a family. So that will be a good message to the team. And we'll continue to have these guys believe in Dino. But here's what's frustrating about that. Florida State was a mess. Florida State was a team that was literally pointing fingers at each other all week. They were questioning leadership. They, had not led a team by more than – when they led Syracuse in this game 14-0, it was the biggest lead they had all season. Florida State has still not scored a touchdown all year in the third quarter. Florida State is nowhere near the powerhouse you would think. They've got a lot of talent, but that's a split, fractured team. And we talked about this all week long leading up to this game. Don't let Florida State start to play with pride again, start to get confidence in themselves again. And that's what Syracuse did. I mean, last week, Florida State got their doors blown off by Boston College. And to be fair, Boston College is a much better team this year than we thought. But Syracuse, the team that is more together chemistry-wise, family-wise, playing better than Florida State coming in off the bye week, it kind of let a sleeping giant awake today. It makes enough plays to gain some confidence. And, again, Syracuse dug itself a hole. Now, again, Eric Dungy was hurt, but listen, you can't keep digging yourself these 14-0 holes down at halftime. But the other side of that, I feel like this is like a tennis match or we're ping-ponging all over the place on both sides of the court. But the argument to that is they're competitive. They're in these games. It's not one of these we had no shot kind of things if you're a fan sitting there watching this. They had a shot in all of these games. But you got to win one of these games. So you got Wake Forest, you got Louisville, and you got Boston College. So Syracuse is 4-5. All they got to do is win 2 of their last 3, and 2 of those games are at home. Wake Forest is up next for the Orange. John Wolford has been terrific at quarterback for Wake Forest this year, putting up big numbers. But he lost Greg Dortch, who was terrific, one of the best freshmen in the ACC, big-time wide receiver. He's hurt, so he lost a big weapon there. We'll see how Wake Forest recovers from that. But at home, that's a game that is important for Syracuse, and they got to take care of business there. Louisville's got Lamar Jackson, but Louisville is nowhere near the team we thought they would be. Their defense is awful. They're giving up a lot of points. That won't be easy. Again, another opportunity for a road win for Syracuse. But I would put Louisville in the beatable category. They're not this – last year they came to the Dome and beat Syracuse 62-28. Lamar Jackson alone had over 600 yards total in that game. And he's piling up – he's the defending Heisman Trophy winner, but they don't have the team around him that strikes the same kind of fear in your heart that they did a year ago. And then Boston College at home to finish out the year. Boston College is a much better team. A.J. Dillon has emerged as one of the better players in the ACC, let alone one of the better freshmen in the ACC. they're getting their act together on offense. I would think that, their coach is off the hot seat. He was on the hot seat coming in, but if they can grab a couple more wins and get in that bowl conversation, I think that'll take Steve Addazio off the hot seat. Syracuse and Boston College, as we well know, have played some down-to-the-wire games in the past few years in that last game slot. So, you kind of throw everything to the wind. It's a rivalry game, but certainly at home, a game that Syracuse can take care of business in. Just stinks not to get that. Not as much of a signature win as you would think because Florida State's down, but you still beat Florida State. And you could say that you beat Clemson and Florida State in a single year. What do we always say? How hard it's going to be for Syracuse to compete in the ACC when you got Clemson and Florida State in the Atlantic Division. You had an opportunity today to say Syracuse beat Clemson and Florida State in the same calendar year, and they didn't get that, unfortunately. Like Nicholas here in the comments, the NCAA hates us. Was Mark Emmert on the sideline? I missed that. Peter Berg, my favorite conspiracy theory is those Southern refs. Them Southern refs don't want to see Syracuse winning games in the ACC. Peter says the program has turned a corner, but needs to now learn how to win on the road in particular. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. Frank follows that up and says close is not good enough anymore. I can't argue with that. They have you've shown us how good you are. To paraphrase Dino Babers a couple of weeks ago after they beat Clemson, he said, okay, the dangerous thing is, and he told his team this, he said the dangerous thing is you've shown us how good you are now. All right, so just to kind of recap here. Syracuse loses 27-24. The call to not take the points before halftime is going to linger. It's going to be a point of discussion of Syracuse fans throughout the week. I think most people, and maybe we'll put up a poll or something just to kind of gauge hey, good idea. I'll write that down for my recap. Please read my recap, by the way. It'll be up on syracuse.com Sunday morning. I have confidence that that poll will show most people felt Syracuse should have taken the point, so that's there. Officiating was brutal in this game. Eric Dungy, unbelievable. Comes in, bum, ankle, toe, foot, whatever it was, 109 yards, leads Syracuse down the field at the end of the game, gave them a chance to win. Irv Phillips and Steve Ishmael, terrific, again, both with 12. Irv Phillips is now the all-time leading receiver in Syracuse history and counting with 3 more games to go, and this kid's just piling up numbers. Steve Ishmael in his senior year, same thing. Defense was great when it needed to be. 1 for 13 on third down, gave up a few big plays. Tackling was an issue in the first half, got better in the second half. Syracuse lost an opportunity to get a significant win over a significant program and somewhere where they need to win a game, and that's on the road. And they've got an opportunity here with 2 of their last 3 at home to secure that 6th win and get a bowl game. That is still my expectation. I think that should be your expectation. I've gone from, boy, if they made a bowl game, that would be one heck of an accomplishment, to, no, I expect you to make a bowl game, and it would be disappointing if you didn't at this point. To quote Dino, that's the danger of showing how good you've been this year. But it's another close but no cigar loss for the Orange. 27-24 loss to Florida State. So now they come back home against Wake Forest at the Carrier Dome next week. We'll be right back here after the game on Facebook Live. We don't know the game time on that as I speak to you here because pretty much the entire ACC was put on that 6-day hold. That game time will be announced Saturday night, maybe Sunday morning, but we'll certainly know that here in the next 12 hours or so if you're watching us on Facebook Live right now. So we don't know what time we'll be here next week after the Wake Forest game as we speak, but we'll be here on Facebook Live after. Please read my recap on syracuse.com. Read all of our coverage. Chris Carlson and the boys will be, and Stephen Bailey and the whole crew will be busy cranking out some great content for you, so please read that, and we'll have coverage all week long, of course, leading up to that Wake Forest game. So Syracuse loses to Florida State 27-24. Thanks for hanging with us here on Facebook Live. Thanks for hanging with us during the live chat as well on syracuse.com. I do that for every football game, and basketball is coming up. We'll be doing the live chat thing for every game, so come hang with us during the game for that as well. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week after Syracuse takes on Wake Forest.